Yo, 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 what is going on, IK fam? BN, your boy, Mr. Kingdom Builder. We are back again for finally another Server 79 update video. Yes, I know y'all have been waiting for me to continue the most used talk skill series. Trust me, I have been eagerly waiting. It is going to be continuing soon. Look forward to it. And then hopefully once I get started and finally get caught back up, it will definitely be on a more consistent basis, as really has been my primary number one goal. But with that out of the way, this, in my opinion, kind of really takes precedent. One, as many of us know, we have finally got the updates that we've really been looking for when it comes specifically to probably the most important thing that most of us have really been waiting for, which is server versus server. Again, this is literally the number one thing that many of us have been waiting for. We've been waiting to hear about, right, with the IK Information Express channel. We've done 2 videos on it already, kind of covering the throne of the Supreme. It'd be cool. I feel like I should say king after that. But essentially, this is fantastic. It's coming out so much sooner than we thought it was ever going to, right? They are releasing bits and pieces of information, and we know that with the recent updates, right, it really is just in specific relation to the honor board, like the individual leaderboards that these are focused on, right? We still don't know what the map looks like. We don't know what other objectives are going to be, how the other servers are going to integrate. Is it going to even be a new map? I mean, there's so much unknown and excitement around it that it comes back to my point of, man, the timing is amazing, really, right? I mean, you look at server 79 for where we are at right now, right? As the new pioneer flagship server for SvS, which is what we have always aimed to be in every server that I have done a project in. Thankfully, most of them, right, panning out pretty well, which is nice. But man, 79 right now, out of the 2 previous projects I've done, and as you've heard me talk about a little bit, I really feel has the most potential. As I've mentioned in other videos, right? We have no rogue players. We have no rogue alliances, right? For the most part, the server is pretty much rogue free. Again, there's always going to be small hurdles, right? Or different size hurdles that every server is going to have to deal with. But for the most part, right, the Fallen family has really established the foothold in here as good managers, as a good support team for all alliances and active players that are in the server. We have currently CoR round 1 going on. Things are going really well and ideally perfect for how we set up blue faction that's going to be taking king first, then we'll be doing a rotation, and then we also have different alliances that are actually trading relics. Man, there's like some really awesome, I can't wait, I want to talk about this in a future video, but man, we're doing some fantastic pioneering for how to really min-max contention of relics, and I'm going to talk about this more in detail in, again, a later video to show you players from other servers how you can go about min-maxing for contention of relics to get the most amount of players, the most rewards possible in the easiest way, while still allowing for players to enjoy some of the PvP aspects that can at times be limiting for certain days. How you don't necessarily need to restrict PvP to just 1 day or to 2 days, but you could arguably have PvP ongoing for the entire amount, but just doing it in an organized way. And I'll talk about that later. Outside of that, let me get into a few of the big things, right? So like we've talked about before, right, S79, we have been preaching this to be the SvS flagship server, right? We have many alliances, we have shells prepped, we have great organization and structure. Again, even if players want to come on our Discord, we actually have a specific dedicated channel that just goes over information on our server. And I will probably make a more official video on specifically migration and other things like that, but I will just give you a brief teaser. So if you were, for example, to go on our Discord, and I'll have a link for that in the description along with the pinned comment down below, right, you can go over here, and when you join, you can go to information. You'll see reaction roles, server roles. You click on server role. You click on S79 channel access. It'll take you over here, and you can see that we have an overview channel. It goes over what the server's about, what some of the goals are, what some of our objectives are, and it just allows for players and groups, small groups, large groups, full alliances, to get an idea about how S79 operates in case you may be interested in migrating once we do hit 90 days. The somewhat shocking thing is I've already gotten about 7 or 8 requests from people just spanning the past 2 weeks that have already said they want to come to 79 and are interested. I think there's a lot of hype right now about SvS, and I think servers that are going to be in a great position to get ahead of it, right, are ones that are already preparing for it and have been since day one, as we have for each of our projects. Again, just more so now 79 because we are in more of a direct overseeing position, which is fantastic. A lot of the alliances are on the same page, which is nice to see as well, and we're really excited to see where things are going to be going. Now, with that being said, let me talk a little bit about, right, what are some of the things that we're doing as far as how is some of the city distribution going, right? I think the distribution is going really well so far. As you can see, right, even though in this situation for DF, let me zoom in here, you can see that our alliance specifically is in, gosh, where are we? I think we're 4th or 5th. Yeah, so we're like teetering right now at 4 and 5. You can see, again, power is still pretty close, right? About 3.5, 3.6 mil from 1 to 5. Drops off a little bit here at 6. Again, the thing that I'm really looking forward to is once we finally get access to server mail, we'll actually be able to start working on, again, which is I like to refer to as stage 3, of closing that power gap. I know in our first week's video it was pretty easy to do because alliances were just starting out, caps were constantly increasing, but to the point of where players' powers were not that high, right? So again, we're as always working on the cap. You can even see that 1 and 2, right, are still pretty close as far as 2 mil, right? Close from 2 to 4, and even 2 to 3, or I should say 2 to 4 and then 2 to 5. So again, things that we're constantly working on, which is great, and then eventually we'll be able to start working on through migration, right? For a lot of what we've preached before is we fill from the bottom up. So based on if we have 6, 9, 12 extremely active alliances, right, we will fill to capacity, but from the bottom up, right? Right now we're kind of filling top down. And it's great, and then when you can do merges, you're kind of filling out the middle of it all, and then just increasing overall activity, hoping that you're going to be able to work it there in addition. But sometimes it's not always from the bottom up. It could be working out the middle grade alliances, because it's also dependent on factions as well. Right? You can't have a blue go and fill over into a red unless everyone wants to spend 2k green gems, which just really isn't ideal. But when we start migration, right, the important thing is that because we are always working on balancing out our alliances for the most important thing, which is that players and alliances have to feel as though they can compete equally, or at least on a equal-ish footing, with other alliances for events, right? That is part of the healthy competition. And that's what you want players to be able to visually see from the leaderboard rankings, along with being close in power, and then, of course, based on the actual event rankings and seeing people kind of compete in close numbers as they are participating through those stages. So these are really important things that we have been working on since day one and will continue to work on, and hope that these might be some selling points. And like I said, I'll go and do a deeper dive a little bit later. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is, like, what are some things that we're seeing right now? Well, some things that we're seeing right now, which I think are pretty common, is coming into the PvP aspect, right? We have some players, which shockingly enough is not a lot, but it is some players, less than I would say from my previous 2 projects, that are wanting, as usual, to just do a little more PvP. And I think with the SvS announcement now, it is really going to quell a lot of that conversation as far as people really yearning and just needing to go out there in PvP, right? Some of the things that we talk about, right, that we do as far as mitigating is, right, we limit PvP to the Forbidden Zone, but we also allow for organized Alliance versus Alliance events, as far as if they want to go and do 10v10s or 20v20s. We're even talking about doing kind of siege skirmishes and battles where alliances that are ranked close to one another are able to kind of practice sieging or counter-sieging and defending. We might even, I know one suggestion that was thrown around was, like, if people want to have, like, one-on-one battles, they can go to, like, a random island that is off the coast, and there's a few, if you actually look around the perimeter of the map, that you can do that at. I think someone once called it, like, Death Island or something that was pretty cryptic, but I thought to myself, you know what, not really the worst idea that could have been proposed. So little things like that I think are really important to allow a little bit of PvP in the server, but again, in a controlled way, an organized way, and a meaningful way. In addition, you're also going to have Illusion Battlefield, which is also going to be a nice event for people that really want to start stretching the PvP legs. And then, of course, once SvS comes out, which, as they've mentioned, is going to start in the September update, it's probably going to start in some of the younger servers, so they'll probably have a chance to get those first. But the interesting thing is that is something that's coming sooner than later, so people may not really need to be huffing and puffing about PvP when SvS is going to be coming, and they're really going to need to be as prepared as they possibly can. But still, I find the most important thing, right, when you're taking time to explain some of the benefits and the pros and cons of doing PvP on your home server is really important, right? It's good to take time so players can understand that doing PvP, going hard in PvP, right? People that are, like, the individuals who ask you for open up the map, right? Or make it server-wide PvP, or, you know, we need to be able to hit anyone, right, during kill event, or we just need to have more areas, but we'll have a safe zone here and a safe zone there, or we just open up the entire map. Sure, it sounds good in the short term, but the one thing that we've always seen that are consistent trends across Kingdom Builders is anytime you do server-wide PvP, you are always going to lose so much more activity than you initially thought. And it's going to be a compounding effect that is an accumulation of kill event after kill event after kill event. Because what most players are not seeing is the number one most important common denominator is that in every server, 99% of all your players are new. And for the majority of new players, they want to play the game, right? Brand new players to Kingdom Builders do not immediately say to themselves, hey, I'm just going to go out and attack everyone. No, that doesn't happen. I know this because when I first started playing Kingdom Builders, and I played my very first one, my thought was, let me learn the game. Let me click on everything. Let me progress. Let me read as much as I can, right? So I can try and min-max my account, be as efficient as I can, and then start looking into other things. Most players, if not all, are going to do the same thing. Their first thought is, I'm not going to go out and attack everyone because I'm weak, right? I just started. It doesn't make any sense. So under that I don't even know if I'd say that baseline, right? It's important to recognize that players, the majority, do not want to be unnecessarily attacked. They don't want to be put into a situation where they are a casualty of war, right, or a friendly fire, an innocent victim, if you will, because a higher-up group decided, hey, we're just going to open the map to appease to the minority. Keep in mind, the players in any server that are the ones constantly asking for more PvP or to open the server up are always going to be the minority, right? There's always going to be a small group or a smallish group that are always asking. Now, with that being said, it does not mean that we just need to say, you can go kick rocks. But what it really means is that we need to take time to explain to said players and to everyone the importance and understanding when and where you should be doing PvP, and hopefully in a controlled way. Because if you're just doing lawless PvP, and you're one of those people who's like, oh, well, it's going to train our players, it's going to allow them to get more experience in PvP. No, it's not. Right? For the majority of players, it's not. Right? I hear this excuse and this reasoning like more often than I probably should. It's almost surprising. Right? You are not going to gain miles of knowledge and experience just by going out there and doing free-for-all lawless PvP. Right? Sure, you might learn some things along the way, but you are not going to get a deep understanding of how to do PvP in a very organized way by going out there as an individual and just solo hitting people, right? You can learn some things, but there's an extent to what you can learn, and that's only if the players are actually out there with the sole intensive purpose of actually practicing, of actually doing trial and error testing. Not everyone who goes out to do PvP is thinking that, right? They're just like, I just want to go hit some people, I want to get some resources, I want to crush some faces, and then move on. So I find that it's really important to understand that, right, there is not this extremely higher level of intellect and deep, deep thinking that every single player is applying that could be in your server that is saying, I want more PvP. All right, so anyways, that is just, I hope, a good understanding that some players may be able to take away. And as you hear me talk about this, you're like, you know what? I got a couple guys in my server that Boss is really hitting some solid points on. Yes, because they're arguably in every server. It just depends on how many. The last thing I will say is that for those of you who are interested in taking a little bit of a deeper look into S79, if you possibly are interested in migrating here, we do have a migration application form that is on the Discord, and if you would like more information, you are more than welcome to contact me on Discord. Again, I'll have that in the pinned comment along with the description bar. You could be an individual player, you could be a group of friends, you could be a small group, a medium group, a full alliance, multiple alliances. Trust me when I say we will have space for you and everyone that you can think of, again, because of the time that we've taken to prep from day one, and even before that during our jumping phase. So that is it for me. Until the next S79 update, I will catch everyone latest.